Hello and welcome to today's session where we're going to be taking a look at Sage versus Business Central. We're going to be covering off a number of topics during this session, but just a couple of housekeeping things to start with. Just so you know, this is being done live, and feel free to use the Q&A box and ask as many questions as you like. We can answer them throughout. While one of us isn't talking, we can potentially respond, or we'll action those at the end. And we can actually do a bit of a Q&A at the end as well. Some of the things we're going to be covering off today, we're going to be taking a look at the digital transformation in the finance sector. We're going to be having a look at some of the key differences between Sage and Business Central, some of the advantages of Business Central, the better together message with Microsoft 365 and Business Central. We're also going to be taking a look at the value to you as a Microsoft partner in transacting dynamics. So not only a new revenue stream and the value it's going to add to your customers, but what it's going to do to your Azure revenue and your modern work revenue as well. And we're also going to be taking a look at where you can start with the programs that we have in place. We're going to run through those in a bit more detail as well. It's not just me today, though. I am joined by two great people. So firstly, just to introduce myself while I'm in my flow, Matthew Batterby. I'm the Global Senior Dynamics 365 Business Development Manager here at Ingram Micro Cloud. And I'm joined today, I'll pass over to my Ingram Micro colleague first. Ed, you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Matt. My name's Ed Smith. I'm a dynamic solutions architect working for Ingram. Got to say, Matt, I hugely appreciate the video you did on LinkedIn that said I've got years of experience, just reflecting my age. So, yeah, I've been working around ERP, CRM in the industry for, I guess, more than 30 years now, and really excited about what we're doing with Ingram, with Microsoft and Dynamics. So, over to you, Kathleen.
Thanks, Ed. And first of all, I'm just going to apologise to everybody. I have got the most awful cold. I think I must be the only person in the UK who can pick up a cold in lockdown. But anyway, so hi, everyone. So I'm Kathleen Parker, and I work here in the UK for Microsoft as a territory channel manager. That's for BizApps, so that's all things Dynamics and Power Platform. And I work very strategically with partners to help build out that Dynamics ecosystem. So like Ed, I've been working in the industry for many, many years, but only with Microsoft for just over 6 months now. And previous to that, I was an ERP and finance consultant. So, you know, it's interesting to see how the way things have changed and how ERP contributed to a business back then, because I always used to say as an accountant, as long as the trial balance balanced, that was all that mattered. But, you know, today, the massive changes in technology we've got and being able to see firsthand, you know, the fantastic and innovative things that are happening here at Microsoft, it makes me really realise I'm absolutely in the right place at the right time. So I'm really grateful to be here to talk to you today. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, no problem. It's great. Yeah, joined by two awesome people, definitely. But the first thing we're going to be looking at is looking at kind of digital transformation in the finance sector. So to start with, what I'm going to talk about is when you actually look at the finance sector, you can see how much it is just evolving. There really are so many key statistics that I could have called out on this slide, more than 3. I could have overloaded it, but, you know, it'd be a bit pointless. So a few here, just as an example, you know, 60% of financial services companies have developed a digital transformation strategy. And with that there is a high percentage of financial services companies that say if they hadn't actually put a strategy in place, they don't think they'd still be around in years to come. So it really does show how important it is that these companies are putting these strategies in place for digital transformation and the impact that's going to have on them. And even worse so, you know, the impact it's going to have on those ones that don't. But as you can see, with the 68% of companies putting a strategy in place, and let's face it, with the way that 2020's gone, that number is probably higher by now. It does show that there is opportunity there. There's a massive opportunity there with, you know, finance sector customers. But, you know, you as Microsoft partners, you need to go and talk to these companies to seize that opportunity. And we at Ingram Micro Cloud, alongside our elite service providers, can help you do that. Another one, 14% of finance services companies are actually in the process of implementing the strategy. Again, this could be out of date now because of the way this year has been. But the point is there, you need to act fast. You really do need to act fast on this and don't miss the boat. Don't allow your customers to go elsewhere for their solutions. They should be going to you. There are still a lot of companies that have the strategy in place but haven't started actually following up on that plan. So you could be the catalyst to get them going and get them moving on that plan. And alongside us, we can help you every step of the way, which I will come on to a little bit later on. So in short, there really is a huge opportunity and it's there waiting for you. Now, don't worry, I am not going to give you a history lesson right now. Let's focus on the future on this slide. And the future for the finance sector is all about using solutions to improve productivity, improve reporting, improve visibility, remove data silos, improve data accuracy and data security, improve forecasting. I'm talking about AI and machine learning and basically using the right solutions to really overcome a lot of the issues that a lot of companies see, you know, really dragging out processes, a lot of manual processes using multiple applications. That's where the future's going. It's trying to use one application to really speed up these processes and take advantage of the the capabilities with AI and machine learning. And let's face it, just because something was the best years ago doesn't mean it is still the best now. For example, completely off topic, but I'm looking at buying a new television for when I move house. I won't be going after the best black and white television from the 1960s. I'm going to look for a smart TV that does everything that I need it to do, all built in for ease of life. So why should choosing an ERP system be any different? And at the end of the day, if you're not offering your customers great ERP solutions, then someone else will. And if they're offering them ERP solutions and support and so on, then will customers want to work with multiple tech providers? You really are running the risk of increasing customer churn. By adding Dynamics 365 into your offering, however, with our programs, you can decrease churn by, we've seen, around 25%. So keeping more of your customers, actually being able to cross-sell and upsell to more of your customers and open up a brand new revenue stream as well. So a good question to think about, so you can keep an eye out for opportunities and ask the right questions to your customers to open up the opportunities, is pretty simple. And that is, what are the key things that we see in a company outgrowing their ERP system? Now, one thing I will say is that they say a bad ERP system is one that you will outgrow in around 5 years. So basically, if you're not picking the right ERP system, you may as well tell the world that you're not planning on growing at this point. Some of the things you'll notice are things like slow systems, reports taking too long, too many manual processes, too much time inputting data, too much time trying to get a full view of the organization. Sales and invoices are still on paper. Forecasting is a lot of guesswork instead of actually using data and insights to forecast correctly and more accurately. And a lack of information leading to customer dissatisfaction. And continuing this theme just onto the next slide, another one that we can call out, data silo is a big one that can cause issues. And when you remove those data silos, it's incredibly beneficial, but more on that later. People using multiple applications, jumping from one to another, multiple data entries, those kind of things can be a massive pain, massively time consuming, and just completely unnecessary. Not adapting quick enough to change. And let's face it, in 2020, we've seen the biggest changes forcing businesses to work remotely. I mean, I'm sat on my dining room table now, not sat on my dining room table, sat at the dining room table delivering this webinar, being forced to, work remotely. So how fast have your customers been able to adapt? And security, always a major concern, especially to those potentially using poor ERP solutions and on-prem solutions. But with Business Central, this just isn't a concern. You know your data is safe and secure. So there really are some key telltale signs a customer is in need of your help to modernize their business, choose a better ERP solution, and ensure that their solution not only helps them overcome existing problems, not only enables them to grow, but will grow with them as well. Okay, so that's enough from me. What I'm going to do now is hand over to Kathleen. Over to you, Kathleen.
Thanks, Matt. Whoops, sorry, that one. So basically, there is a massive opportunity in the market today. And so with many customers who are using outdated ERP systems, they're very often on-premise, very siloed, and they're really holding them back from growing their business. So like Matt said, a bad ERP solution is one you're going to grow out of in around 5 years. So by businesses using these solutions, it's like telling the world you don't plan on growing your business. or worse than that, still saying you don't think your business will be here in 5 years, so it's not worth that investment. And according to a recent Forrester report, approximately half of ERP customers are on releases that are 2 versions behind the current release, which may be 4 years old or more. So in today's fast-moving environment, that may as well be the Stone Age. And they also state that between 50 and 90% or more of a typical IT budget is spent on the maintenance, not innovation of those products. So digital disruption, it's forcing every company and industry to reinvent themselves. And a massive part of this transition is about reinventing how businesses engage with their customers, their business processes, and how they take advantage of data and intelligence. So everyone has more access to data. And because products now are designed to be directly connected to customers, so things like the Apple Watch and the Tesla car, they're creating that always-on connection that just gives us real-time insights. But it isn't just about volume of data. It's about how you reason over this data, and which then gives organizations the ability to gather insights and then take intelligent actions. So this is why data really has become the new currency for organizations. But if customers are still running outdated on-premise siloed systems, then their ability to make use of that data is not going to help them grow their business. And if their competitors are taking advantage of up-to-date connected cloud solutions, then they're putting themselves at a massive risk of losing business as well. So there are really 2 main groups of prospects that will be in the market for a new business management solution, like something like Dynamics 365 Business Central, for instance. So the first group they're the evaluators. Now, the evaluators are SMBs, so small to medium-sized businesses that rely on basic out-of-the-box accounting software for their finances. Many of these companies are growing large enough now that they're really straining the limitations of that basic software, and they need to upgrade to a business management solution. The second group we have are switchers. Now, switchers are SMBs that they currently have other ERP systems, and they've most likely had these systems for many years, and they're now disappointed with the experience because of either excessive costs, things like the maintenance, the upgrades, and also proprietary systems that sit around the ERP to give them the functionality they lack, which in turn again leads to disconnected and poor reporting. Lack of price stability, complexity, sometimes even partner support and the knowledge of the partner. And they're now open to switching to a new business management solution. So with these 2 segments, they may both be interested in Dynamics 365 Business Central, but they will be most impacted by very different information. And that's the information that you're going to feed to them. So evaluators, for instance, they're more focused on their needs. They want to know that a new solution is going to work with other systems they already have, integrates into things like Office 365. It's going to let them get started quickly without a long period of implementation and migration. It makes it easy for staff to familiarize themselves and personalize and get productive. And it's going to reduce the amount of manual data entry and processing, a very important aspect. It's also going to make things like reporting easy to use and tools to create new business information reports and dashboards easily. It's going to allow easy drill down into the details of transactions, and it provides the right amount of functionality for the right price. And once the right functionality is in place, they then have the ability to easily scale up or down as their business needs increase. And switchers, they want to avoid the pain points that they've experienced with their other solutions. They want a solution that's going to come from a company with a reliable track record of supporting SMBs. So the familiar Microsoft brand is a real ace card in this situation. Excuse me. And they want to receive a predictable, transparent price that they don't have to negotiate. They want to be confident that the new solution provides exactly what they need without upgrades or additional purchases. And they want easy data migration and a quick transition to the new system. And they want a solution that is easy for their personnel and team and which maximizes their productivity, and the ability to extend the solution as and when they need to, but in a way that is cost effective and scalable. And this is where something like Power Apps really comes into its own. And they also want something that allows them to make better predictions and plans to guide action. So again, like Matt said, it's not about looking backwards anymore. It's more about looking forward now. So rather than analysing what's previously happened, they want to look forward so that they can really maximise and make good use of those strategic decisions. SMBs need something designed with their needs in mind. So Business Central provides features that will help SMBs complete the most common and important tasks. However, Business Central is a rich horizontal ERP solution that does not limit their ability to grow, and it gives them the ability to scale up or even down as the climate changes. And Business Central is designed perfectly for the SMB market so that it can be deployed in small business cases within days without any extensive need for expensive resources. However, it can also scale up to mid-market businesses where, without the need for months and months of customization and training, and customers can personalize their views in the system based on their role so that the users get intuitive and simple experience in terms of usability. So, and in a later stage, users can then add extra views when they need them and then extend even more out to advanced functionality by adding things like sales professional, customer service professional modules as well. And very importantly, the Business Central simplified licensing options make it affordable on a small business budget, which requires price stability and predictability, as Microsoft guarantees its prices for 3 years. And both switchers and evaluators will benefit from Business Central pricing, functionality, and predictability. There are 5 key benefits that prospects will receive by choosing Dynamics Business Central. So number 1, get started faster, thanks to enhanced deployment and data migration tools and easier user adoption. Number 2, maximizing productivity. So with things like Office 365 and enhanced Outlook and the recent Teams integration with automatic handling of incoming documents and intuitive and configurable role centers. And then number 3, actionable insights. So with unlimited analysis categories, easy drill down into transaction details and embedded Power BI. And number 4, adapt and evolve easily. So the ability to easily extend and evolve with extensions. So things like Power Platform, Power Apps, Flow, and App Source. And one of the key strengths in choosing to work with any Dynamics product is the ability to easily build adaptable solutions that integrate seamlessly with the core product. And finally, that low total cost of ownership and good price predictability. So simple licensing structures and payments and good price stability. As I said before, it's about a 3-year price stability rate. So what are the signs that you need to look out for that point to the need for a new ERP system? So, their current systems are disconnected and information is siloed. This is the most common problem facing small businesses. So many prospects will describe scenarios of having to copy and paste or rekey information multiple times and accessing several different systems in order to complete a given process or task. And things like reporting is complicated and provides insufficient information. So out-of-the-box reports are basic and organisations often need to buy additional software like things like ClickView and Tableau to configure existing system reports and to get deeper insights. Both of these are expensive, they're non-scalable and very time-consuming efforts in terms of reporting. Another thing is, it's too expensive to upgrade and maintain legacy systems. For some, it's the gradual growth of the business which makes the current software insufficient, and specifically things around lack of integration with payroll and inventory, for instance. But for others who've been using the same software for 10 or more years, it's just become outdated and it's no longer supported. And also maintaining these systems and adding new functionality for ever-changing business needs is really starting to get expensive. So once you've identified the needs and you've worked out if they're an evaluator or a switcher, how do you approach them? So what are some of the questions you need to ask an evaluator? So when talking to an evaluator, ask them, what's your ideal time frame? What's your timeline for getting a new system up and running? What is your plan to handle the impact of downtime and lost productivity when switching to a new system? And how much time does it take to input customer or vendor information from an email into your current financial solution? So by going through all of these questions, you're identifying pain points. Do you have an accounts payable invoices process? Is it automated? What BI tools do you have available so you can easily analyze my data? How do you currently access your general ledger and your transaction details? Do you have drill down capabilities? Are you looking for a solution that's ready out of the box, or does it need customization before you can even get started? And do you need the ability to evolve as your business quickly evolves? And would you rather pay for a solution monthly or in large annual installments? Or would you prefer to adjust your solution as you grow or pay upfront to customize it? And when we're talking to a switcher, what kind of things do we need to bring into the conversation that's going to make them question the inadequacies of their current system? So which obstacles complicated your current ERP solution deployment? What functionalities do you miss in your current ERP solution? And what do your new hires say about learning to use your current ERP solution if they've come from somewhere that's using something that's more cloud-based? And how are you reducing your time your team spends on repetitive manual processes? And what BI and analysis tools and functionality do you have or want to get better visibility of your business? And very important, what steps does your team have to take to access transaction details from the GL, and how you can contribute to, expanding that information out around the business? Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has undoubtedly impacted every business and placed increased strain on IT systems, with a greater number of people working from home during this current time. And I think in that initial chaos, everyone had to adjust quickly. We all had to adjust to new ways of interacting with technology. And I think the pandemic affected every area of life, from home, from work, leisure, commuting to work, community involvement, and even things like parenting and school. And the learning curve may have seemed really steep at times, but it's going to have a lasting impact on how technology integrates into our daily lives, and our businesses are questioning now how that impact is affecting the longevity of their business. So it's up to us to show them how digital transformation is never going to be a one-size-all-fits scenario. And the notion of executing a massive disruption in a single chess move is part of the problem. So if you think about moving to the cloud as a strategic move, as a journey with incremental steps towards a long-term goal, it becomes a much less daunting proposition. So now I'm going to hand you over to Ed, who's going to talk to you more about how we can lead the way on that journey.
Excellent. Thank you, Catherine. So really going to focus on Business Central, pick up on some of the themes that Matt and Catherine have both introduced, but drill a little bit more down into the product. I was asked to resist the temptation to do a full-on live demo, so we'll use a few screenshots to highlight some of the key areas and some of the key aspects. Thinking about implementing business applications and business systems, one of the great benefits that we get with working with Microsoft is that it's a single-sourced author, and we can think about the whole kind of ecosystem, not just the business application, but how do we host it, where does it sit, what about security and access. I don't think there's anything else in the SMB market that can match the Microsoft ecosystem in terms of that range, extensibility, and integration, which is becoming more and more important between Office applications and business applications. Some key things to just call out as we go through this. Maybe familiar phrases to you, maybe not. When we talk about evergreen applications, Business Central is offered as software as a service. So it's a fully hosted application. We get 2 major updates and releases every year. One of the key factors that prevents organizations upgrading their ERP solutions and moving from legacy solutions and getting onto modern applications has often been the cost involved with that kind of migration. We have to evaluate all of the bespoke applications that have been done over the years. That traditional approach with ERP of really diving into core source code and changing our core application so much that it precludes any kind of easy upgrade and puts a huge financial overhead just to move from something that's maybe 3 or 4 years old onto a more modern application. By offering Business Central as a hosted SaaS application, we're getting the upgrades constantly in the background from Microsoft. So the same investment that you committed to on day one, as Catherine said, we've got some fixed price arrangements there. The commitment on day one means that you'll still have that absolutely up-to-date application for year 2, year 3, and year 4. So as we bring in enhancements, increasing integration with modern workplace, for instance, as a customer, you can absolutely take advantage of that without having to go back for more budget all of the time. In terms of scale and extension, Business Central will scale from a single user up to hundreds of users. It's within a single tenant, multi-company, multilingual, multi-currency, and multi-site. So we've got plenty of customers who are, for instance, single accountants looking to implement Business Central to run their own practice and think about offering outsourced services, up to multinational, multi-site organizations spread across different geographies. I'm going to touch on depth of application over the next couple of slides. One of the phrases that Catherine mentioned was a rich horizontal application for the SMB marketplace. I'm going to bring that out when we start talking about line of business in a couple of slides. And in terms of partner support, great benefit from Ingram Micro is alignment with our elite service providers who specialize in the implementation of Business Central with that scalability in different marketplace. Key point down at the end, whenever we're engaging with end customers, driving that question with organizations, what's the business objective? Let's not start from the technology. Let's drive from the business objective through to the applications. And I guess one of the key focus areas that we're always talking about when we're thinking about upgrades and migrations is really, is the business running the application, or is it vice versa? If you've become a slave to the application and you're now implementing loads of workarounds, then it's a great time to think about changing. I've talked about the ecosystem a little bit and the single source author approach. When we're looking at infrastructure, ecosystem, applications, what we're going to do with the data and how do we drive towards those business objectives, we're not just thinking about Business Central of itself as the business application, we're thinking about the whole Dynamics environment. So realistically, if you're using M365 or Office 365 or Outlook, whichever name we choose to give this right now, then if that's your front end, how do we make better use of your time, of your resources, and how do we think about the integration between that kind of front office and customer engagement through email and the business applications that sit in the background? All of the applications sit on Microsoft Azure, so it's fully hosted. We've got secure data centers, so we don't really have to worry about data protection and about legislative requirements within different geographies. That's all catered for by Microsoft with its Azure hosting. I'm going to come on to Power Platform and Microsoft Dataverse. That might be a slightly new name to people. And rather than talking about it here, this is a simplified version of the business application solutions ecosystem. It's quite a mouthful. We generally just refer to this as the base slide. And when we're thinking about this ecosystem, I've chosen just to represent this effectively in 3 layers. So if you look at the business application layer on that top row, we've got Business Central as a fully self-contained ERP system targeting the small to medium enterprise marketplace. Catherine mentioned earlier about extensibility and how we can think about future requirements and integration. And within sales and service, we've got the customer engagement applications. So as your organization grows, if you want to expand into a full-on CRM application, then we've got CRM and customer service absolutely covered, along with specialist applications, including project service, field service, marketing, and human resources. So those applications are typically targeting larger organizations. So I guess more towards the middle and top end of the SMB or into the enterprise marketplace, where it's an absolute requirement to implement a specialist system. The reason I've chosen to highlight those is Business Central has got elements of all of those specialist applications built into it at a slightly lighter level, specifically designed to operate in the SMB marketplace. Just working my way down the slide, integrate and extend is really giving me the opportunity to talk about that extension. So M365, or Outlook for email, has been and will be the absolute go-to for businesses for their email applications. But wrapped into M365, we've got SharePoint, brilliant document management storage. Integration with Business Central enables us to attach documents, give us that full traceability, and use SharePoint really for what it was designed for, that brilliant document management, along with familiar tools like Excel and Word. So document layouts in Business Central, if you want to change them, configure them, manipulate them for outbound documents, for instance, you can do that using Word templates. So we don't always have to come back to a solution provider to do that. We encourage customers to self-serve and learn through their development so that they've got better capability of maintaining their ERP solutions through their entire life cycle. And Teams is absolutely on there. One of the things that Matt mentioned early on, we're thinking about flexibility, remote working, but how do we keep collaboration going with our colleagues within a familiar environment? And if you're anything like me, I seem to spend most of my life on Teams now for partner and customer engagement. So I'm going to bring that in a little bit later on in the presentation. Sat in the center of that integrate and extend layer is the Power Platform. So we've got Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and Power Virtual Agents. I'm just going to start with Power BI, so that's business intelligence. One of the points Kathleen mentioned earlier on, why should you think about upgrading maybe from a legacy solution up to Business Central? Ease of access to data, getting the kind of data analysis and reporting that you absolutely need, whether that's going to be represented in some graphical format or to give you the opportunity to drill down into it. So Power BI has got access to the data that sits in Business Central and any of the other applications that we choose to integrate and expand to if we're looking at customer engagement, for instance. Power Automate is a workflow tool. So this is addressing that process of if this, then that. So if you've got manual processes which are repetitive and time consuming, or you need to react to some kind of trigger, Power Automate gives you the opportunity to take that trigger, respond to it, generate an action, and become informative. We can integrate with third-party applications, so it can be external looking as well as internal. So a reasonable, for instance, from a customer I was recently dealing with, introducing new product introduction, reacting to a trigger within a design process where an element is written into a SQL database. We want to react to that, generate some activity to import some data, fire off an email to a product manager, and fire off an email to an account manager so that they can inform one of their customers who's been anticipating a release date. A manual process, if you can write it down, you've got a great chance of automating it. Frequently, when we're discussing with prospects, with new customers, and working with our partners, our elite service providers, we're pushing out the question, what do you want to achieve out of this? Where's the benefit going to be from this whole enterprise solution? And the answer, increased efficiency, is a good starting point, but it doesn't give us those firm measures. We're starting to drive towards that question that says, in 6 months, when you've been live for a couple of months, how are we going to measure whether this is successful or not? Areas of increased efficiency means freeing up your human resources to add more value to your organization and taking out a lot of those manual processes. That's where Power Apps really comes into play. Sorry, Power Automate really comes into play, getting ahead of myself. I do want to focus a little bit on Power Apps because this is application development that an end customer can do or our implementation partners can handle. When we're trying to match the aspirations of an organization, if we can hit 85 to 90% of their business processes within Business Central. That's a really great starting point. It's a great place to be. We do encourage organizations to think about the way they work now, think about the way the application works. And if they can change their process to suit the application, that's an even stronger position, because as we upgrade the application, we're thinking about total cost of ownership across the lifetime. Then if we're matching the processes within the solution, then we've got that rock solid fit. But every organization is unique. So as an end customer, if there are specific processes that add value to your organization, but perhaps don't naturally fit within Business Central, then Power Apps is a development tool. It's a low-code or no-code application. And what that means in reality is that you don't need to be an IT techie. You don't need to be a specialist to develop applications that can run on mobile phones, on tablets, or on laptops. And these can add value to your implementation while still accessing and updating the data within Business Central. And the way that we can do that is by using, I've still got a reference on here to the Microsoft Common Data Service along with third-party connectors. So we've got the data from the application sat on the Microsoft Common Data Service, recently been renamed to Dataverse. I've still got to get my head around some of the name changes, and integration with third-party connectors. So if you are using something like Zendesk, for instance, because that's your legacy help desk system, then integration through existing third-party connectors. We don't have to start from scratch. We've got hundreds of out-of-the-box connectors. Just quickly thinking about the platform level, I mentioned earlier, everything's set on Microsoft Azure, so we've got global hosting that will match local legislative requirements. So when I'm working with partners in Germany, for instance, there's a requirement for German data to sit in a German data center. Tick in the box, job done, we don't have to worry about it. We get access to all of the brilliant technology and services that come along with Azure. So things like the bot framework that will drive into Microsoft Power Virtual Agents. So if you want to interact with your customers through a website, drive them down a structured chat to get those kind of answers without involving human resources. Again, we're thinking about saving time, cost, and human resources. The schematic down on the bottom right, you're not supposed to be able to read it. It's there as an indicator. The Common Data Service, we've got full access to all of the applications with common links. So as your business grows, as we extend the application, if that's applicable to you, then you're very unlikely to ever outgrow the ecosystem. If you start with Business Central and your organization grows hugely, we've got opportunities to migrate towards finance and supply chain, for instance, which you can think of as Business Central's bigger brother in the ERP marketplace. Focusing very specifically then on Business Central, I've put this together really to reflect kind of line of business. Catherine mentioned that horizontal SMB application. The line of business effectively represents modules within Business Central. If I read around fairly quickly, kind of from 2 o'clock, supply chain management thinks about those organizations that buy, stock, and sell. So if you're buying in product, bringing this into a warehouse and then selling on to your customers, then we've got the opportunity to think about and react to forecasts. What kind of inventory do we need? What's fast moving? What's slowing down? What's going end of life? So we want to deplete to zero. How does that drive into our replenishment mechanism, either for single companies, single locations, or multi-company, multi-location, and multi-warehouse? The supply chain complexity within Business Central really can be as simple as when my inventory reduces to 10, go buy another 100 from a preferred supplier at this fixed price and automatically generate those purchase orders so we can push them out to the vendors. And we can get through to levels of complexity. I've worked with plenty of organizations where fast-moving inventory needs to sit on a pick face close to the dispatch door, and that's replenished from bulk, and then we've got depots for delivery. one of the great things about Business Central, scaling from 1 to hundreds of users, we can go from very, very simple processes to tremendous depth in those processes, depending on what suits your organization. Reading round towards operations management, and of course there's a huge overlap between all of these modules. They don't operate in isolation, they're all fully integrated. Operational management focuses on internal processes, typically for assembly and manufacturing organizations. So the control of your resources, be that machine resources or human resources, with bills of material and product routings. So we can put standard costing in place. We can capture actual costing against timesheets or against bookings, against production orders, and manage that full manufacturing process. Project management gives us the opportunity to build a work breakdown structure. So if you're more of a services organization or structuring your delivery in a way that is best suited with a work breakdown structure, with actions and activities within phases, with sequential and parallel operations, we can build that work breakdown structure with a full budget, with allocation against human resources and against machine resources, calling in material requirements as we require. And finally, I guess reading round the circle, sales and service management gives us the opportunity to work with organizations who, for instance, might sell high value assets with a warranty with an aftercare package. So if I was selling laptops, for instance, I know the specification of the laptop when I place that order on my supplier that's gone through supply chain management. I might want to track it against the serial number when it comes into inventory, track that serial number against which customer I've sold this product onto, because my warranty and aftercare service can then absolutely be tracked against this asset. So for instance, if I booked 3 different engineers to go out and service a fault on this laptop, it's probably not my engineers being idiots, it's probably a fault with the asset. I can trace that right back to the supply chain, push that back to the vendor when I'm calling for a replacement. And in terms of reporting and analytics, again, Kathleen touched on Power BI. In my many years in the industry, I've never done an ERP implementation where all of the standard reports suit every organization. Of course, we've got a raft of standard reporting within Business Central, and we can also complement or supplement that with Power BI so that we can build those charts and indicators and graphs and embed it into Business Central. And again, that's one of those skill sets or areas that we encourage end customers to learn about, to adopt, to adapt to, and really move towards that self-service mechanism. You don't have to implement all of these modules. And indeed, if manufacturing and service management isn't a requirement for your business, then we've got different licenses within Business Central. So the Essentials license typically covers about 80% of all the requirements that we see in Business Central. The Premium license includes manufacturing and sales and service management. So if manufacturing and service doesn't fit your organization, we don't ask you to pay for that. So you're buying what you need. And we've also got Teams licenses, which is really the kind of light touch if you want easy access reporting and key performance indicators without needing to access the operational functions. I think it's £6 per user per month to get somebody access to that and do some light transactions. Moving on, how does this look in Business Central? If any of you are interested in Business Central, want to see a demo, I'd encourage you, please do get in touch with us. We're more than happy to present those demos and then align with our elite service providers to go into a more sort of detailed dig into customer requirements. As I said, fully web hosted, browser based, and we are browser agnostic. And every user has got their own unique login and security. It's tied into your Office admin portal so that when you log in, obviously tying with Active Directory, you hit a landing page. And the intention of the landing page is to get all of your functions or your favorite functions onto the screen. Again, driving back towards that discussion about what is efficiency, how are we going to measure this, and how do we enable our users to get the best experience from Business Central. The tiles that you can see in green, kind of across the middle of the screen, are the favorite functions or the activities that we might expect that user to perform. So if I can get somebody logging on by 8:30 in the morning and present to them tiles with an indicator. You can see one with a red bar under it. That's just highlighting the urgency. We've got some outstanding actions to deal with. If I can drive the user into those activities from the first thing in the morning to deliver the greatest added value with the transactions, it's the easiest way of presenting that to the user. You can see we've got some functions spread around. We've got that familiar kind of Microsoft look and feel, having the kind of ribbon across the top. So we can use a drop-down menu structure. We can put the favorite functions onto the screen without having to go searching through menus, and we can put the tiles on there to just make it really, really obvious. This is where you need to go. This is the workflow. This is the process that I am going to ask you to do. It's not just using tiles. I was trying to get I guess a full image of a landing page. It would have meant just scrolling around a wee bit, but just to give you an indication, if I'm working in finance, and the most important thing to me is managing the cash and the cash flow throughout the organization, then the opportunity to build in cash flow forecast. This is a standard out-of-the-box cash flow forecast. It's driven by AI that's accessible to you through Business Central, measuring several kind of key areas in terms of receivables, purchase orders, payables, liquid funds, etc. Driven by AI, I think it was mentioned a little bit earlier on. If a customer's on 30 days, but they're always paying on 45 days, what should we be thinking about? Not when they should pay, when they actually will pay, thinking about when the cash is going to drop in. So this kind of cash flow forecast, along with things like inventory forecasting. So the kind of application area where for years that's been a speciality tool, thinking about seasonality and forecasting for inventory, that's absolutely embedded within Business Central. And just picking up on the business performance graph that you can see, although I can't show you because it's not actually a live demo on BC. I've got my top 5 customers there. If I was to hover onto trade research and click through, that takes me into the customer card. Probably worth mentioning quickly at this point, as a customer, Microsoft allows you to spin up trial environments of Business Central that are valid for 30 or 90 days. This is an extract from that trial environment. So no enhancements, no customization. If you want to drill down and get some experience of Business Central, you've absolutely got the right to spin that environment up. The landing page, the security, who logs in and what they do is all driven by a role-tailored client. So this is persona-based. And again, thinking about time to value, how quickly can we get the system set up? How quickly can we get your users set up? But make sure you're thinking about security and accessibility. Available roles, absolutely out of the box. You can see there's a significant list. I think there's about 20 role-tailored clients available, absolutely out of the box. And the idea is, we don't want you to work that hard when you're doing your implementation. So the configuration for an accountant, for instance, will suggest the things that we think you might need, and then you can just tailor them with the minimal kind of effort. What does this mean in the background? I was going to do a full-on expansion, but it would have taken, I think, 4 slides to get all of these on. The modules that sit within Business Central cover the areas that we talked about for manufacturing, sales, project management, service, finance, purchasing, warehousing. It's a fairly light touch on HR and resources. It's not meant to be in depth, but it is there to cover personnel and roles, time on board and certification, etc. So as Catherine said earlier on, a very broad application. It's very easily configurable to those line of business applications that I mentioned earlier on. And we've got accelerators for certain industry types that we work on with our elite service providers, so we can accelerate that implementation even further. A couple of things I just want to touch on. I talked a little bit earlier on about integration with modern workplace and the whole kind of ecosystem. Integration with Outlook, for instance, it's all driven by a wizard. The reason I put that on the screen is just to show you the kind of easy setup and click through. And when we integrate with Outlook, this drives the application down into Outlook. So a really quick example of this, if I have emailed 3 quotes out to an organization and I get an email back in from that organization that might be a little bit non-specific, just saying, Ed, sounds great, I want to go ahead and buy some, the AI tool in the background is going to be looking for the email address that was inbound, match it against a known contact within Business Central, and if it thinks that I've sent some quotes out, it's going to pop them out into Outlook just to say, Ed, it looks like you've emailed this guy 3 times and he wants to go ahead and buy some. Is it one of these quotes and do you want to transact it? Sounds fairly simple. It's a great piece of integration, and it means that our users can sit within Outlook, transact the function within Business Central. You can see it popped out on the screen there with the tiles, so I can transact that quote without having to toggle between the applications. If we're in implementations where people are doing copy and paste, writing things down, or going back to menus and navigating them, that's where we're losing time, we're losing energy, we're not driving that efficiency. So this integration with modern workplace, absolutely key to where we are today and where we're going in the future. And equally, exposing through Teams. So we've had some of the customer engagement applications exposed through Teams for quite a few months with Business Central. I think this came into preview in October, and it's generally available in December. And what you can see on the screen is just an example there. We can be sat within Teams, driving that kind of collaboration that we all need, even though we are, I guess lots of us, we're quite dispersed right now. We're all working from home. We still need to collaborate, work as a unified organization. And by being able to post links to Business Central cards into Teams, we can expose a compacted or an expanded card so that we are exposing the functions of Business Central into Teams so that we can collaborate on that same single data source and the same single application. And I want to wrap this up really. I guess I'm eating into Matt's time, probably me talking too much as ever. Impact of picking a bad ERP system. Catherine mentioned earlier on, if you're outgrowing your ERP system, frankly, to keep up to date in the marketplace, your business is changing because the competition is changing and the marketplace is changing. If you're not changing, somebody's going to come and overtake you. So picking a business solution that might just about fit where you are today and what you need to do today without really taking that comprehensive view of what's going to happen in 12 or 18 months. None of us have got the magic crystal ball. We can't see what's happening all the way into the future. But the reason I wanted to highlight that ecosystem was the expansion and the capability that we've got with Microsoft to drive that kind of business growth and expansion and integration without moving into different authors and different application areas. Evergreen applications, take the cost of upgrade out of your business. Take easy access to those upgrades and the benefits that come along with the massive development budget that Microsoft puts in place. And in terms of scale and extension, I've tried to mention it a few times, from a single user to hundreds of users, across different lines of business, across different geographies and locations, languages and currencies. We've absolutely got that covered in Business Central. Fast time to value, rapid implementation without elite service providers, and really think about that process mapping. What makes your business unique and competitive? And if that's an area that sits out with the normal ERP application, Power Apps, Power Automate, these are the tools designed to embed and add value to your organization, and it drives back all of the time to those business objectives. Are you running the system or is it running you? If it's running you, time to change, and we'd be delighted to engage in that kind of conversation with you. And with that, Matt, I hope I've left you enough minutes to cover off the rest of your slides.
This is it. I like a good challenge, Ed. It's fine. That was awesome. Thank you very much, Ed, and thanks, Kathleen, as well. That were both really great sessions. So what I'm going to focus on now for the last sort of 5 minutes is kind of the how, and also what's the earning potential for a Microsoft partner, and kind of the value there as well across all clouds. So the first thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to the how, we have our Dynamics 365 Accelerate program. You can go to the website, microsoft.ingrammicrocloud.com/dynamics. and you can register your interest on there. We've got loads of content on there. There's some demos for Business Central. There's all sorts of stuff. Really great website, so feel free to check that out. But once you're kind of onboarded into our Accelerate program, we actually provide a lot of services. So we provide sales training, which we do over a couple of hours, which is much faster than some trainer sessions can take when it comes to Dynamics. But we can deliver that training. We can do it over Teams as well. We haven't had a choice this year. We support with Cloud Ascent and your Microsoft Propensity tool. If you've not heard of Cloud Ascent and you are a Microsoft partner, that is definitely something to reach out to us for, because it's a great tool and we can enable you to boost your cross-sell and upsell opportunity. We support with demand gen. We've worked with our partners at Neural Impact to provide practice development as a service. Some great content again on our website. We will need to give you a password for those videos in particular, but it's really great. And even if Dynamics isn't your focus point, even though they are kind of tailored towards Dynamics, from the sales and marketing side of things, there's great content in there to support across all clouds. We provide marketing content through our go-to-market hub, email and social media campaigns. We can even enable you to create your own landing page for Dynamics, all within our go-to-market hub, all completely free of charge. And as soon as we've got that customer interest generated, you've got a customer raising the hand, they're interested in Dynamics, we can provide pre-sale support. I always introduce Ed as a service. We provide great pre-sale support to help you scope out those opportunities, understand the opportunity, and then we can even provide, we can deliver demos and all sorts to your end customers to kind of get them excited, help them make that decision and just evangelize about Dynamics. And then we work with great elite service providers that can provide implementation services, so that your customers are working with the best. We work with a number of Microsoft award-winning partners that won awards at Inspire this year. They're Dynamics Inner Circle partners as well. So really working with the best. And the great thing is you keep the licenses, so you own the customer. There's no risk of a failed implementation because we work with the best. You're going to get support throughout the entire process, from the point of view of just marketing all the way through to an implementation. You keep the licensing revenue, which means you get the margins, which are the best, and the incentives, which I'm going to come on to shortly. You also get a percentage of the professional services cost as well. So it really is a lot of benefits in there. Now, I've mentioned Microsoft incentives. So I just want to highlight that with the changes that came in October, there's up to 34.75% that you can earn on a Dynamics 365 deal. So just to give you an idea of kind of the kind of maximums for one customer over a 12-month earning, if it's over $1,000 a month in billing, the rebates alone, so this doesn't include your professional services, it doesn't include your licenses, there's some really great opportunity earning potential for Dynamics 365 as well. And as you're selling those licenses, it's you that's going to benefit from those. Looking at the bigger picture as well, so I've kind of looked at how does Dynamics 365 impact the other workloads, and that's something that I really want to highlight here. So one thing I want to call out is it really is that beachhead product. You get Dynamics 365 in, the other workloads follow. In fact, you're 10 times more likely to transact Azure following a Dynamics sale than you are a Microsoft 365 sale. And you're also likely to drive those high-end SKUs of Microsoft 365 through Dynamics as well, and just improve overall usage. Now, the margins, for every £1 of Microsoft 365 margin, you're looking at £8.23 worth of Dynamics 365 margin. So just looking at that over a kind of 12-month period with 10 customer wins, margin alone, the annual contract value is well over 100K, but margin alone, there's some really great earning potential. And if you think about potentially you're listening to this and you're a Microsoft 365 reseller currently, so you've already got those 10 customers on Microsoft 365, still look at that Dynamics 365 number because the earning potential is huge. And as I say, we can help you through the entire process and make sure that you are well supported. And all of that is whilst lowering, just to hit that point home again that Kathleen mentioned before, all that's while lowering the total cost of ownership for the customer. So much value in there. And by adding Dynamics 365 into your offering, you are going to massively improve and reduce your customer churn as well. So you're going to keep more of your customers, keep more of their spend, add another revenue stream, and you're going to lower the total cost of ownership, so your customers are going to love you. There is a next level to this as well, which is our Dynamics Angels program. The Dynamics Angels program essentially is the fastest way to build a Dynamics practice. So we do have packaged offerings that are available through our partners at CPIT for Business Central specifically. Now, those packaged offerings, they will actually help you and train you to deliver those yourselves. So you look at the left-hand side, you've got the partnering model. You keep that CSP, you're the purple, you're the Microsoft partner, and Cooper Parry, CPIT, will pick up the professional services and support. They can actually help you become a fully fledged Dynamics Angel, as we call it, so that you can deliver the professional services and get the CSP. So there's more earning potential in there for you. You don't have to do that. You don't have to take it to the next level and do the implementations, but it's an opportunity that's there. And it's something that a lot of partners are taking up, not only in the UK, but globally. So it's definitely something we're thinking about and something that is completely unique to Ingram Micro Cloud as well. We've partnered with CPIT on this program, and it's running really well. A lot of partners taking up the advantages that this brings and how it's helping them really widen their offering and keep more of their customers. So all in all, as I've mentioned, we really do stick by that tagline that we've got, more as a service. So I've mentioned all these things already: the practice development, the lead generation, the marketing. As I say, we provide training, professional services. Essentially, we provide growth as a service and therefore more as a service at Ingram Micro Cloud to support partners in really growing their practice and widening their offering. So as this was sort of delivered as a fight, as I kept marking it on my LinkedIn, if anyone saw it, I would say the winner is Business Central all the way. So yeah, I mean, for me, Business Central is that it's that one solution that can run an entire SMB business. It's absolutely brilliant. How it seamlessly integrates with Microsoft 365. Embedded is probably a better word to use than integrated. It really is a powerful tool. So hopefully, I don't want to go over too long. I can see it's 2:01, so thank you very much for those sticking around, even though I've gone a minute over. If anyone's got any questions based on anything today, feel free to fill in the Q&A form, or you can drop us an email or get in touch on LinkedIn, or however you want to do that. That's absolutely fine. I'd strongly recommend it. As I say, a couple of things that we've called out, being able to help you completely build a Dynamics practice, support you with things like Cloud Ascent. If you've not heard of those things before, it's definitely worth a conversation, because we can support you in so many ways, and wider than just Business Central and just Dynamics. So it's definitely worth a further conversation. Massive thank you to Ed and Kathleen as well for joining me today, helping me with the content. I'm really happy with this webinar. I think it's some of the best content we've put together, personally speaking. So yeah, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for joining us. Let's just check the Q&A before we go. What I will do, I'll just highlight my email address for those that are listening now. If anyone wants to get in touch, it's matthew.batterby. Now, Matthew spelled with one T. That catches people out sometimes, at Ingram. So matthew.batterby@ingrammicro.com. So we're getting a few messages coming in saying thank you. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. It's been great. Okay. So again, a few messages saying thank you, which is always nice. So if there's no questions, I think we can close off the webinar. But like I say, do get in touch, and we can support you further. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everyone.